No matter how major a writer is, no matter how great the book, there always seems to be someone on hand who thinks he can do better, eager to take the story and improve it. The book is the book, the film is the film, they will tell you, as if they were saying something profound. Then they make the story their own. They never make it better though. 999 times out of 1,000, they make it worse. About a year ago, this quote from George R. R. Martin made a lot of headlines. I think he spoke to the feelings of a lot of fans who had watched abysmal adaptations of their favorite IPs. A Song of Ice and Fire, Lord of the Rings, Marvel. And the live-action Witcher shows have certainly played their part in fan dissatisfaction. And with The Witcher, Sirens of the Deep, this week added another chapter to Netflix's Witcher story. At first glance, this movie is an adaptation of the short story A Little Sacrifice. But even at the surface level, you will quickly realize the two have barely anything in common with one another. Sapkowski's story is primarily a character study. We are not in for grand battles, for the waging of war. There is a war on the horizon, true, but A Little Sacrifice is about the people who deliberately head for war and the ones who try to stop them. And more importantly, it is about people who have unreachable dreams, and while some remain nothing but a fantasy, against all the odds, most of them eventually become reality, for better or worse. But Netflix took a character study and turned it into a generic spectacle, a story about the war between men and fish people, caused by political intriguers on both sides. Besides Geralt and Jaskier, there is an evil king and an evil sea witch who conspire together, but neither of them exist in the book. Then there are the rulers of the Merman kingdom who aren't a thing in the book either. Only their daughter, Shiazan, is actually a character from the book. Then there is her lover, Agloval, and his brother, the sons of the king. His brother is a new character as well, and Agloval is completely unrecognizable, but I will come back to him later. As well as Essie, another unrecognizable book character. And the last one I want to mention at this point. When half of the main characters are a creation of the film, I think you get an idea of how unfaithful this adaptation really is. So is this movie completely worthless? I mean, I like the art style and the animations are pretty good. Doug Cockle returns as Geralt, which is also pretty cool.
I'm not helping justify a war.
The music with its spooky choirs is also very reminiscent of The Witcher 3, and I really like Geralt's fight against the first Dvornek. But the Dvornek suffer the same fate as zombies in every zombie movie ever made. The first one we encounter demands everything from our hero. But later, Geralt slays whole armies of them on his own like it's nothing. As a result, the action becomes almost as mind-numbing as the story. You're also in for cliché anime fight scenes. Geralt is superhuman, but not the jump 20 meters into the air and do 5 backspins kind of superhuman. This might be to your liking, but it's not my cup of tea. I would have preferred a more grounded approach. Besides some clunky exposition lines, the dialogue wasn't half bad for the most part. But here and there I really had to raise an eyebrow. I'm not sure what I enjoyed more. The all-time classic line, "I liked you better when we only fucked, not talked," or the referencing of the fuck meme from the first episode of The Witcher, like someone who went viral and is now clinging on to their 15 minutes of fame. It's been 6 years, by the way.
Fuck.
6 years and they still have no idea what to do with Jaskier. The world-renowned bard, an intellectual who is nothing but the butt of every joke. But I really don't want to go through everything wrong with the movie. I don't think it's worth it. Instead, let's focus on some of the key changes the movie has made and what they mean for the story. Let's start with Essie, perhaps one of the most tragic characters in Sapkowski's novels. She's changed beyond recognition. She's a local bard and an old friend of Jaskier who regrets never having left her hometown. She becomes part of Geralt's investigation because she wants to keep her nephew out of the upcoming war. She's also somewhat interested in Geralt, but only for a night, nothing serious. She could never be with a Witcher forever, after all, because she wants a family and stability. This is a pure bastardization of her original story. In the book, she isn't a local. There is no nephew or extended family. She is an old friend and colleague of Jaskier who falls hopelessly in love with Geralt, but he can reciprocate the feelings. This serves to deeper explore his complicated relationship with Yennefer. The relationship between Essie and Geralt is a mirror of the relationship between Geralt and Yen. And just like Geralt is in constant but hopeless pursuit of Yen, Essie is in constant but hopeless pursuit of Geralt. But he has no choice but to leave her heartbroken, regardless of whether he gives himself to her or not, because their relationship cannot last. There cannot be a happy ending for her. But that's obviously all missing from the film, substituted for the most generic love story imaginable. As for Aglaval, he is a multifaceted character. He's the ruthless ruler, the greedy conqueror, but also the hopeless lover. If there's a villain in the story, it's definitely Aglaval, but calling him evil would be too simplistic. He embodies many aspects of the human nature, the good and the bad, but the writers didn't know what to do with his character depth. So they decided to take the different aspects of his personality and put them into 3 different characters. Aglaval the lover, who is simply a good person, who struggles to stand up for what he believes in. His brother, the warrior, who redeems himself at the end. And his father, the ruthless ruler, who is nothing but a purely evil person. The distortion of Aglaval's character reaches its pinnacle when he decides to become a merman himself. Despite his love for Sheerzan, this is the one little sacrifice he would never accept. He wants everything, the love of his life, his power, his ambition, and he would rather keep searching for another solution than to give up on something that's dear to him. It is Sheerzan who makes the sacrifice of giving up her life in the sea to become human for 2 reasons. For one, she loves Aglaval, but it is also implied that she is making a little sacrifice in the hope to appease him, to stop his war against the sea, because she is the only thing that could keep his ambition in check. But in the movie, the father who represents the negative human nature, their relentless and merciless pursuit of power, is stopped. Aglaval turns against him, becomes a merman, and leaves. The king won't have any heirs. His line will end. The inevitable human expansion is stopped from the outside, not because of a little sacrifice. It's no sacrifice for Aglaval after all, but because the king was defeated. Instead of exploring the multifaceted human nature, it all just comes down to the simplistic theme of humans bad. The negative side of the human nature is defeated by rejecting humanity itself. The human ability to be a monster is a common theme in Tchaikovsky's work, but it's usually not so black and white. Aglaval is a great example of this, because for all his flaws, he is still capable of love, and this nuance is lost when you split his character into pieces. I want to conclude with this. The Witcher: Sirens of the Deep is one of those 999 attempts to improve a story that ends up making it worse. Much, much worse. And we could all have done without it.